the commissioner now says, actually, Madisha, you were wrong procedurally to get rid of this employee. Substantively, of course, maybe this employee is quite wrong. It's on the wrong side. But now, procedurally, you failed to follow the whole procedure to get rid of this employee. We really need to somehow change our minds to say, when we say small business, we are not necessarily saying you need to be now confined.
Yes.
Kokasi, Kogowena. We have very good South African stories that we can tell. One of them can be even Batu.
Yeah.
You can see they are doing quite well. Sure. Now, the local economy in Hammanskraal now, it's becoming a problem. No wonder why the high crime rate now.
Yeah.
Because now, what will you do if you're not working?
True.
And I was told, like, Okare, Ibile Northwest, it's leading when it comes to unemployment rate.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.
After the hour 7 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and once again, welcome to Okasi Entrepreneurship. It is on the Groundbreakers right here on TUT FM 96.2. We amplifying voices, empowering lives. And I'll tell you this. South Africa's economy has then faced a series of challenges, from high unemployment and load shedding to even rising living costs and even slow growth. But amid these obstacles, it then lies an often overlooked engine for economic renewal. That is township entrepreneurship. But tonight on this particular segment, which is Kasi Entrepreneurship, we then ask, what can be done to truly revitalize our economy? What role do Kasi entrepreneurs play, and how can we then unlock their full potential to then drive inclusive grassroots-led growth? And joining us for this particular conversation is the one and only Mr. John Kabelo Makopo, who will definitely come in with some of real solutions that real entrepreneurs eventually come with. Mr. Makopo, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Mr. Madisha, as always, and also good evening to the listeners at home.
Definitely. And I think it's far best that we start off by giving you the platform to always and every single day then take us through what we'll be definitely discussing. How do you plan to go about this?
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity as well. Once again to the management of the station. We are so much grateful for this opportunity. So today I will start so unusual, like always.
Yeah.
So I would like to do the disclaimer first.
Sure.
Before we can go any further. I know today's topic, it's quite, we are just trying to zoom out, not only to limit ourselves to Kasi entrepreneurship only, because we really need to, as well as the show, to try and zoom out and look outside what can actually affect small businesses. Yeah. I think, Mr. Madisha, firstly, let me do because I will be talking to the South African economy. The first disclaimer that I will say is this. My views are not the views of like a chief economist of somehow.
Yeah.
I will be expressing my views as a small business because I'm feeling the pinch of this economy, our economic performance.
Yeah.
So now my views will be the views of like any other small business out there or business owner. Not necessarily that these are the official views or statistics when it comes to economic outlook of South Africa. So now I would like to start with actually doing first the comparison.
And also sorry to cut you off there, Mr. Makopo, also to then say your views are your views and not the views of the station, because when you then what happens when you say let's ban the Minister of Finance? We cannot be associated with that, but we do understand.
Yes. Thank you so much. And then now what I would like to start doing as always is just to actually really emphasize. I will reiterate most of the time the reason why this show exists. It's all about just encouraging the spirit of entrepreneurship.
True.
With the main aim of maybe trying to create jobs or stimulate this economy.
True.
Now, I will go straight into what I would like to do. Firstly, I will start with a comparison just to try and make sense of what actually can be done or what other economies, the thriving economies that are fast growing
In the
in the world
Sure.
that are actually doing.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Marisha, I came with the statistics here. I just looked into statistics here. Firstly, I know it may not be that fair comparison when it comes to if I compare South Africa and China, but we really need to actually learn from this fast growing economies like China.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Marisha, what actually struck me peculiar more than anything is this. In China, with a population of 1.4 billion people that are living there,
Sure.
yes, China has more than 55.5 million registered small businesses.
55.5?
55.5 million registered private companies.
Sure.
So, and then these are private companies.
Yeah.
And then, and these are small businesses. And then, but remember on our first episode, we also spoke to the very low rate of self-employment in South Africa.
Yeah.
That actually the self-employment rate is quite low. In China, they are actually sitting at 125 million self-employed businesses.
Sure.
So you can imagine. So now what happens is these small businesses in China, what they do is, according to the China Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, they are saying actually small business sector is a catalyst when it comes to bolstering economic growth. And then they are actually saying small businesses, they contribute 60.5% to the GDP of the country. And actually their Chinese government realized more than 50% of their tax revenues from small businesses. Comes from small businesses. 68% of all the Chinese exports are from small businesses. 68% of exports, it's from small businesses. And more than anything, every year, more than 75% of new jobs are created by small businesses. Just think about it.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yes. If you are a country with more than 125 million self-employed businesses, that actually contributes over 60% to the GDP of the country, and more than 50% of the tax comes from small business, with 68% of exports in China by small business sector. And more than anything, 75% of new jobs are created by small businesses year on year in China.
Sure.
So you can imagine, that is why I'm just trying to say, can we learn from this economies like China?
Yeah.
So now, the other thing now, coming back to South Africa, Madisha, I know we have been focusing on the first 2 episodes. We have been focusing on what can be the vital role that small businesses can play when it comes to growing the economy, when it comes to creating jobs, and we also spoke to the statistics of South Africa when it comes to unemployment. So now we're sitting here. I think it was a day or two before I was actually reading about the Goodyear. You know, this tire brand.
Oh yeah,
company.
the Goodyear brand. Yeah.
Yeah, the Goodyear brand, after so many years, almost a century existing in South Africa, they are shutting their doors, closing.
Why?
And now that the most painful part is this: over 907 people will be losing their jobs.
When people are buying cars, they say,
Yes,
yeah.
and then not only that, the other thing, South Africa joining Goodyear, on average here in South Africa, over 100 companies will lose them to liquidation.
Oh,
They are closing down, shutting down.
Yeah.
And our economists and analysts, they are actually saying there's a drop when it comes to companies that are shutting down when it comes to liquidations. Some, they don't even go through the business rescue process to try and save the company.
Yeah, but
they just go straight to liquidation.
Yeah.
And to me, it does not really matter if it's a compulsory liquidation, or maybe it's a voluntary liquidation. To me, as long as the company shuts its doors, it simply means that people will be losing their jobs.
True. And I think at some point, Makopo, let me get in there.
Yes.
I'm looking at the pointers that you made there. When you speak, when comparing China to the mother seat, SATA,
Yes.
or 68% of their exports come
Yes.
in from small businesses.
Small businesses.
And I think when you speak it like this, maybe the problem might be when we start this particular small businesses, we just then thinking them of side hustles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's where now we really need to somehow change our minds to say, when we say small business, we are not necessarily saying you need to be now confined.
Yes.
Kokasi, kohowena. We have very good South African stories that we can tell. One of them can be even Batu.
Yeah.
You can see they are doing quite well.
Sure.
And it's a South African story. They are telling our South African story.
Yeah.
In other regions, in other African economic regions.
Yeah.
Yes. As much as maybe the owner of Batu, maybe go Park or go Tembisa, but the thing gore, he did not confine himself
To say,
within his kasi.
Yeah.
So when we saying kasi entrepreneurship, we are not necessarily saying you cannot actually zoom out. What is the correct word? You cannot broaden your horizon.
Sure.
You can be well from Kokasi, but now the thing core, you can grow your business to other economic regions. Yes, which I think it's a topic on its own
yeah.
for another day. So now, and then I saw it very important to say, but why don't we, as much as we will be talking about small business and stuff, and now it defeats the whole purpose now when all these other companies are closing down due to our economic performance, due to our economic outlook. I mean, it's lingering at 0.3%, and then we are not growing at all. So now, I think it defeats the whole purpose, and we really need to now to say, okay, can we pause and wait a minute? Because now we are feeling the pinch. I don't necessarily need to be an economist or something to speak to these numbers. But the thing is, me as a small business down here, I'm feeling the pinch.
Sure.
You as anyone, even if you are just an ordinary South African, somehow you're feeling the pinch, even if you really need to start. But with this economic environment, we really need to actually somehow be honest and confront this brutal facts to say, not unless if South African economy is revitalized.
Yeah.
That's where we come in to say, no, what can be done to actually revitalize the South African economy?
Sure.
Yes.
Ramakopo, before you go forward,
Yes.
let me just ask you a question based on the issue of Goodyear.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
I grew up, seeing the adverts on magazines and newspapers and all of that.
Yes.
What is the proper reason for them to closing down? I don't think it can be then because I think that the biggest manufacturers of tires in South Africa.
Yes.
What's happening there?
I may not know the real reasons behind the company closing down, but I will just give example about what is so universal. Yeah, when it comes to why other companies are leaving South African markets to others. The thing, Kohore, as one of the reasons, and we really need to change this, as South Africa, we don't have what we call protectionist approach to our local industries. Our government, I don't think they're doing enough to actually protect localization, to protect local industries. Yes, and that is why I will give example about other industries whereby you find that in that industry, the consumption rate, you find that more than 63% of what it's used in certain industries are actually imports. We are importing them.
A lot of things, right?
A lot of them. A lot of
yeah.
things. We are importing them. And remember, every time when you import something, you are actually exporting jobs. That's the real thing.
I think we're also importing pens. I don't think there's a manufacturing plant in South Africa already ball pen.
We Mr. Madisha, we import everything.
No.
To
I
be quite
understand.
honest, we import everything.
Yeah.
And we used to have industries whereby these things were locally manufactured.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense anymore to any investor or any South African business person to can actually say, no, let me invest here locally with all this, amid all these challenges that we're facing, to say, I want to set up a factory here with all the, not unless if we change all the things that I will be listing, and then this, it's going to be a very real serious problem.
Sure.
Yes, because now we really need to reindustrialize. We really need, it's one of another things we really need to reindustrialize. But now, before I go any further, one of the reasons why most South African companies or other multinational companies that are living in South Africa, it's simply on the reasons that our economy, it's no longer conducive. The environment is no longer conducive. You cannot remain competitive. You can't compete. If, let's say maybe I'm producing this cell phone, the cost of manufacturing this cell phone here in South Africa, I will have to be forced, because of our micro factors here, I will be forced actually to price myself way high as compared to, it's quite cheaper in fact to manufacture a cell phone or anything else outside South Africa as compared to. Now that is why now most consumers, what they do, they will rather actually import or buy something from outside South Africa instead of just buying something here locally.
You know what?
Yes.
25 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock. Let's try to take a quick ad break, and when we come back from that, Makopo will then list some of the things that we need to do as a country to then try to revitalize this particular economy. And I'm seeing a comment coming in here, Makopo. It says, it is deeply disheartening the fact that Africa as a continent, we are the wealthiest of all continents in terms of minerals, fresh produce, livestock and textile. How then are we then living as an impoverished continent? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
And I think you'll take that question when you come back, right?
Okay.
As also then you list what we need to do.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, 25 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. We take a very quick ad break. When we come back from that, we continue with Makopo right here on Kasi Entrepreneurship. And tonight we're speaking, how can we then revitalize, or rather, what can be done to then revitalize the South African economy? I mean, with the economy that are look. O ka re tlo fela di-centering ya ke bona ga re tlo tswara bothata thesanyana ke mo re felang go teng. We take a quick ad break. We'll be back after this. Definitely 20 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock. You are still listening to TUT FM 96.2. We amplifying voices, empowering lives. And remember, this is Kasi Entrepreneurship with Mr. Makopo. And we're speaking what can be done to then revitalize the South African economy. We want to give a shout out to Re Dimpe, who's watching live on Facebook. Also Limpopo Boy, Etoli Kamu, and also Matlatsiri RSA and Dodgers Makwakwa. They're watching us live in terms of Facebook. You can also get in contact with us or watch the show live on that particular social media platform, that is TUT FM 96.2 right there on TUT on Facebook. And remember also a question that was coming in, say Remakopo, the person was then saying, it is a deeply disheartening fact that Africa as a continent, we are one of the wealthiest of all the continents in terms of minerals, fresh produce, livestock, and even textile. How then are we living as an impoverished continent? What are we doing wrong?
Yes, what are we doing wrong? It's, as a continent, it's exactly what we are doing wrong in South Africa.
Sure.
We rely too much on imports, but when it comes to minerals, actually, I think the issue is we can only unearth our minerals, but we do not beneficiate. What is the right word? We do not process them.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't process them. Not unless if we start making that bold. But somehow it takes it's a geopolitical thing, actually, to say we now want to beneficiate or process our own minerals.
Sure.
It's something that we really need maybe one day to have. I may not be able to give that detailed answer when it comes to why, as a wealthy continent, when it comes to minerals, and then we are not, we are still impoverished.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think it may be one of the reasons that I will be listing here.
Sure.
Yes, because what South Africa is doing is exactly what the rest of the continent
is doing.
Is doing.
Sure. No.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And the reasons the things that I think, in my view, as a small business owner, that are actually affecting me, that I think if they can be done, I think we will be able, number one, Mr. Marisha, we will be able to save those 482 companies that we lost in our first quarter of this year. 482 companies.
482.
We already lost them to liquidation. April alone, we lost 109 companies to liquidation.
Sure.
You can see now it defeats the whole purpose.
It does. It does.
We're trying to create employment,
But
on the
also
other hand,
hand-
we're closing companies.
Makopo.
Not unless if we start doing what we're supposed to be doing. Number one, the suggestion that what I think can be also of a solution is this: we need to leverage the partnership between the public sector and actually the private sector. But when I'm talking about private sector, I'm not necessarily talking to corporates, because it's so adamant. I think it's so evident that a South African corporate, they are not actually coming to the party when it comes to transformation. We spoke about it even last time, but actually here I'm talking about small businesses, the impact, the vital role that small businesses can make when it comes to, and also the self-employed businesses that can make actually when it comes to employment. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see South Africa, they are coming with quite a lot of things, National Development Plan and all those things. Those are beautifully curated pieces of papers that we normally have, but now
framework.
we don't implement.
Sure.
We are so good at South Africans when it
we're
comes
so
to...
We're the best.
Yes. Right now, Mr. Marisha, we're talking about every industry, almost every industry in South Africa, it does have its own master plan. But execution, don't know. Nothing. Yes.
What did Red Impe always say on the sports catch up when they were still doing the sports catch up? Yes. He's watching us live. I said shout out to him.
Yes.
Always to then say we are. I forgot how he used to put it, that South Africa, we're just a country that just likes planning. We are playing well, but you see that group of friends who always say the plans don't leave the group chat. Yeah, December
exactly.
But we have never even been to Pretoria.
You have never been to Pretoria, but you want to go to Durban. Okay. Not unless if we fix the small ones.
Yeah.
And then not unless, because there's so many things, some of them we can't even list them.
Sure.
Who do Operation Vulindlela? Some I even forget them. Every year, every administration comes with what they think
might work.
Sure. It's no continuation when it comes to what the previous administration come with.
Sure.
Now the second thing is reindustrialization. Reindustrialization, I think, without being political, I had a lot of people, because some of them who have been saying, especially also Le Mandisa Mashero, and she was so criticized to be saying controversial statements, but sometimes we just need to
say them.
To say them.
Yeah.
And she was actually saying, as the new democracy, we have built less factories as opposed to, but in fact, a lot of factories.
Have they been built? Did they indifem that have been built?
In
the new South Africa?
I really don't want to lie here on the station to say I've seen one.
No.
But obviously, maybe there are some. But now we, as the country, we are actually deindustrializing.
Yeah.
Instead of industrializing the economy, building more factories and manufacturing a lot of things that we can consume, but we are actually deindustrializing. Right now, if you go to Kobabelegi,
yes, I was about to say that.
If you go to Kobabelegi, I'm not sure about the statistics there, but only few companies
are still there,
are still existing, but quite a lot of them closed.
Sure. I was about to Nagito's example.
They're just white elephants.
Sure. Nagito's example. I grew up in Hammanskraal, so I know those firms.
Yes.
And I remember coming in from 2013 and 14, we were then starting to lose the firm because people used to work on the firm.
Exactly.
And improper salaries.
Tiger Wheel and Tire are gone.
Nothing.
And now those people are unemployed.
Sure.
But KLT, the one that was contracted to build the chases Jafford,
hey,
they're gone.
Sure.
They're gone. Now the local economy in Hammanskraal now it's becoming a problem. No wonder why the high crime
Sure.
rate now.
Yeah.
Because now what will you do if you're not working?
Sure.
And I was told like Okare Ibile Northwest it's leading when it comes to unemployment rate. It's number one. And then the other thing is 6 or 7 out of 10 youth are unemployed.
7.
Yeah,
I was reading statistics
it's
yesterday.
7.
Yeah, 7.
7. It's a disaster.
It's a problem.
Not unless we reindustrialize.
Yeah.
There's no way that we can resuscitate or revitalize this economy.
And when you speak about that particular term, reindustrialization, that is then building of firms.
Exactly.
Instead of importing things,
Yes.
for
Exactly.
instances, I would then say in Kalinen, they
Yes.
have a diamond mine. Instead
Yes.
of the diamonds that go Europe, had
Yes.
yeah.
But now I don't think we've got brave leadership to take those bold steps when it comes to implementing those things. I will give you a practical example with one industry that I'm actually operating in,
Yeah.
like steel industry. Steel industry, the leadership of steel industry, they've been trying in so many platforms to actually engage South African government to say, wait a minute, can't you come up with protectionist approach when it comes to South African, this local industry? We really need to protect the local industry. And then just to give you an example, at its highest peak, steel industry, way back in 2006, it must be maybe 20 years now or 19 years, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Way back in 2006, steel industry was actually producing or was responsible to produce around 0.8% of the world steel that is consumed.
World consumption.
Yes, world consumption.
Yeah.
As we speak now, we are actually producing almost less than 0.2%.
We have dropped
We have dropped.
a whole 6% gone.
Gone.
Ah.
Yeah, now ask yourself, dropping like that, what happened now to jobs?
Yo.
What happened to jobs? Because now companies now, when it's like that now, some of them they closed, like Ifras Highfeld, they closed thousands of workers. They lost their jobs.
Sure.
Now, the only primary steel manufacturer here in South Africa, ArcelorMittal, was actually threatening to retrench 3,500 workers. You see, yes, and then now they are busy engaging Department of Trade and Industry. What they come up with, I think, is just a small fix. It's not necessarily a permanent solution to the industry. We do have small companies, and the reason why I'm giving you this practical example about steel industry, for example, it's very systematic. It's like you cannot reindustrialize the economy without steel industry. Let me give you a practical example.
Sure.
Steel industry alone accounts to over 200,000 workers that are in steel industry. These are the direct jobs. Now, its customers like the construction sector, like the mining sector, like agriculture, like automotive, those sectors that are big customers of steel industry. And now there's no way that you can actually reindustrialize those companies. You cannot have functioning mining sector or functioning agricultural sector or functioning automotive sector unless you have a well-functioning steel industry.
Yeah.
Now, those industries that I'm talking to, they actually contribute over 600 billion to our economy. It's about 15% of our GDP. You see? Now, just imagine if those industries, actually, the most important thing, they actually employed over 8 million South Africans overall. You can see now, if now you are shutting down the steel industry that it's actually collapsing, it's actually at the brink of collapsing, but now we still have these mini mills that are coming out that are trying to balance, yeah. But now the biggest challenge is this: South African government, I don't think it's doing enough to actually protect the local because now China is dumping their steel products here. I will give you a practical example. The biggest consumer of steel industry is our construction.
Construction, again.
Yes. Now the mining consumes only 9% of our local steel industry. Agriculture, maybe others, and automotive, maybe 3.2 to 4%. But construction consumes 63% of the steel. But guess what? 100% of that 63% of steel, this is imported from China. From China.
What is the government trying to say about us?
Exactly. Now, as a result, now you cannot compete with a factory in China.
Sure, true.
I will give you an example. I will give you the reason why. It's because it's quite expensive to produce anything here in South Africa. In China, they don't have this logistic issues. They don't have this electricity issues.
Oh, yes.
The tariff, this electricity tariff, it's way too high to actually manufacture, or it's way too high. And also the labor costs.
Sure.
Today I will face it. Rather, all these labor movements, they will rather butcher me if they like to. But now we really need to face this. Now, those companies that are in China that are manufacturing steel are not actually facing all these things.
Sure.
Why South African government cannot just subsidize, if possible, the local industries?
Makopo,
yes.
Because you're making a very important point there. Shouldn't we also then say, maybe this other youth, not some of the reasons we can't plan out the businesses because of the government,
yes. No, government.
Yeah.
Let me give you a practical example again out of the challenges that I've just listed to say. Let's say maybe I'm John Makopo and I'm producing something here in South Africa, and my competitor in the global world, actually maybe in China or somewhere in Asia, or even just other jurisdictions, other continental jurisdictions, economic jurisdictions, what they do is they don't have this logistic challenges whereby their Transnet, it's not working, their Eskom, it's the tariffs are way too high. I mean, there's no way that the input cost when it comes to production costs, it's electricity, it's way too high. Now, the most scaring one is this one. The labor, when it comes to labor, I won't only focus on the labor cost, and then only, but the labor cost in which way, not only the rate that you are paying your employees.
Yeah.
I will give you a practical example. That is why they've been calling, especially on Netleg, I heard that there's a bill that goes to Parliament when now they're trying to reform. They're coming with labor law reforms. Let me give you a practical example. How costly it can be. Let's say maybe you are a small business. When you are a small business, Labor Relations Act, I will just pick up one section in the Labor Relations Act and show you to try and demonstrate the point why I'm saying it's quite costly.
And this is when we talk about businessmen and gentlemen. They know all of these labor sections within their head.
Yes. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say maybe you have a car wash, Mukasi, or maybe you're trying to formalize and you are having a small business, or maybe a restaurant.
Sure.
And somehow procedurally or substantively you fail to maybe do the right thing, and then you are having this employee is actually a problem, and he's actually a liability in your company.
Sure.
Now later on, now you manage to get rid of that employee because he's risking everyone's job. Now you get rid of that employee, and now when you get to CCMA or bargaining council or anything, maybe that employee maybe belongs to a union, or maybe that employee finds a lawyer. Now they refer a dispute to a CCMA as an example. And now the commissioner now says, actually, Madisha, you were wrong procedurally to get rid of this employee. Substantively, of course, maybe this employee is quite wrong. It's at the wrong side, but now procedurally you failed to follow the whole procedure to get rid of this employee. Number one, Madisha, if the arbitration award does not say you must reinstate that employee, now there's what we call Section 194 of Labor Relations Act 66 of 1995. It's limits on compensation. That it's actually guides commissioners as to what penalties can be imposed for unfair dismissals. Now, you know that it can be ruled that you must pay that employee up to 12 months.
Pay?
Yes.
Answer
Up to 12 months adijai.
Afeta more than local business
Yes.
every weekend.
Exactly.
Chicken in
You are a small business. How can you afford? How can you afford? This is just one of the practical examples. And then to make the matters worse, if it's unfair, if it's automatic unfair dismissal, now it becomes 24 months max.
Sure.
24 months. Paying someone 24 months as a small business.
Sure.
Where will you get a salary of someone for 24 months? You can do the math.
Sure.
If that person maybe it's earning 7,000 or 8,000.
Makopo, I want you to hold that thought. I want to take a quick ad break and I'll come back from this. Because you know what? What chase? Have you heard of the 5 words that were spoken? Procedurally so. Arbitration. Automatic. You know, it's about to get heated. Ladies and gentlemen, 8 on the dot. We take a quick ad break. When we come back from that, we're then finishing up the list of the things that Mr. Makopo spoke about. We spoke on 2 things that what can be done to then revitalize this country. We're then saying a leverage partnership between a government and even the public sector and the reindustrialization of this particular country. We take a quick ad break. We'll be back from this. Please don't go anywhere. I told you this is the Groundbreakers. 5 minutes after the hour, 8 o'clock, you are still listening to TUTFM 96.2. We amplifying voices, empowering lives, and this is Kasi Entrepreneurship right here on the Groundbreakers. And tonight we're speaking to Mr. Makopo. We're speaking what can be done to revitalize the South African economy. Mr. Makopo did mention a lot of things. I'll tell you this. In comparison with the economy, he compared China to South Africa's economy. We learned that China has about 55.5 million registered businesses. 60% or rather 60.5 of their GDP is based on that. 50% of their tax revenue comes from that. 68% of their imports or exports rather comes from the locally manufactured businesses, that is small businesses, and 75% of new jobs almost every single year are then created by those particular small businesses. Coming into South Africa, good year is closing. We're losing mataere bakala ba reka mataere le notso reka mataere go speed go ratse bo le reka mataere. And not only good year,
every year. Last year alone, we lost 1,551 companies.
Sure. And I wrote it down somewhere. 482 lost in the first quarter of the year.
The first quarter, by until April, 482 companies we lost. April alone, we lost 109 companies that closed, shut their doors.
Sure.
Employees going back home. And last year alone, we lost 1,551 companies.
It's a lot.
Now, what happened to those people that used to work in those companies?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Made an example of the steel industry within this country to then say it is equivalent to 15% of the GDP alone. That is 600 billion rand. It is employing 18 million.
Not the steel industry, but the customers to the steel industry.
Customers
like your
brings it.
Like your mining sector.
Sure.
Like your automotive industry. Like your agriculture, like your construction.
Sure.
Those sectors combined, they accumulate they accounts to over 600 billion.
Sure.
To our GDP.
Yeah.
It's around 15%.
Sure.
Now they contribute 600 billion to our over 600 billion to our economy, which is around 15% of our GDP, and I still stand corrected. But still, the point that I'm trying to emphasize there is this: if we are having an industry like that the government cannot actually protect, it's a problem. Because now, how are you going to you're going to have functional other sectors of economy? Because these are very strategic sectors of the economy. You cannot have economy without these ones that I'm listing.
Sure.
And all of them are relying on the steel sector.
Sure. You know what? Let's then get into some of this points, if one would call them, because you said one is to then leverage the partnership between the government and even the private sectors.
Yes.
And you spoke about 2, which is a reindustrialization. Now let's go into 3 and 4 and 5 maybe.
You know, the third one that I've listed, Kohore, maybe we need to come up with labor reforms, labor law reforms, to say we are not actually we don't actually want to do away with what government is trying to address. Because I think it's section 24 of our constitution. It actually protects the rights of workers. Now we really need to balance that when we come up with this labor law reforms, so that we still make sure that we insist on the protection of the workers, because we cannot just reform for the sake of reforming. For businesses to thrive. But now what we are saying, we still need to protect the rights of these workers. But at the same time, we need to look at the things to say now. But now why can't we say certain sections of labor legislation, why don't they just be applicable to big companies? Because now how will you afford, with the example that I gave you, how can you afford to actually pay someone who's sitting home for the period of 12 months or 24 months as a small business? You will be technically insolvent. You will close down. To add the salt to the wound, that's up to the CCMA level or the bargaining council level. Madisha, if your matters still remain unresolved, then you go to the highest court, which is labor court. The possibility is that it may take another 3-4 years for the matter to be resolved. Let's say maybe later, after 3-4 years, now you, as the employer, as a small business, now you lose the case against your employees, your employee. You know, you need to pay for all these years. You know, it's actually driving you down. You know, sometimes that is why I've been saying it even before, that we need to relax some of these legislations. May they please just only apply to these big corporates that they can. Yes.
You're not going to be paid that money coming in from me.
Exactly. So now the other thing I spoke about the protectionist approach.
All right.
To say we really need to protect our local industries that manufacture here.
Yes.
Maybe we can protect them by imposing some tariffs to discourage imports.
Sure.
Because most of these companies, most of these countries, they're actually dumping their products here. It's actually over dumping their products here. You see. And then now maybe chickens from Brazil, maybe steel products from China, and then that's killing our local industries. No wonder why we cannot manufacture anything. We rely on imports. We import everything. Re import a lidi week.
It's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, and that's the point. Another point that I've made. But another point that I've made here, over-regulation, to say now we don't necessarily need to over-regulate. Some of these things we just need to loosen up and relax them. And here I don't think I will be famous after saying this one. Is the issue of, actually, let's be honest, most of our state-owned entities, these parastatals, are actually costing us, Madisha. We cannot grow economy with parastatals at the back of their minds. They are always looking at the national fiscal, looking at the fiscal for a bailout of billions. Of billions. Now, why don't we just privatize or half privatize so that we can run these state-owned entities like companies that are making profits?
Sure. You know what?
That can be, these companies can be self-reliant and self-sustaining.
Sure.
Instead of every now and then going to the national treasury and say, we need another 10 billion rand as capital injection, operational injection, operational capital to keep us alive. And you find that there's no solution in that. Why don't we just half privatize or fully privatize state-owned entities to do away, as long as they don't actually threaten our national security. There are those that we cannot privatize, I understand.
Sure.
So that we don't compromise the national security.
Yeah.
But things like ESCOM, it's, I think, the level of incompetence there, because ESCOM, it's 66% overstaffed. You see, and the level of incompetence there, it's so high.
Sure. Mr. Makopo, you spoke on many things, but looking at time, I have to let you go at this particular moment.
Yes.
I'll tell you this.
Yes.
We'll finish off this conversation on Thursday, because you're still coming back on Thursday.
Yes.
And I think we didn't really touch much. We just scratched at the surface, because
Exactly.
you spoke on 5 pointers, and I'm sure you still have many coming in there.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you this. You have spoken on leveraging partnerships between government and the private sector.
Yes.
The reindustrialization,
Yes.
labor law reforms,
Yes.
protectionist approach, and
Yes.
over regulation.
Yes.
Right? So now I'll bring this question, and it's the closing question.
Yes.
If ever you were to then have how or
Yes.
President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa or the finance minister Mr. Enoch Kotongwana,
Yes.
within the 5 elements or pointers you mentioned now, so 5 it's in.
Yes.
If you were to sit with him tonight, what would you then say is the first one that you're going with? Hangare Mrana Makopo.
Yes.
Friday that era is similar. Which one out of these 5 would you then say is that?
Funny enough, you are raising this question. Mr. Marisha, last year, the 20th March,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to actually meet President face to face.
Oh, Cyril Matamela.
Yeah, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa.
Yeah.
I think South Africa, like I said, I've been saying it in this platform so many times, to say government is trying to come up with, they're doing a lot of efforts. Yeah, they're coming up with a lot of things. Now, last year, we went to, in the presidency, they through the Department of Trade and Industry. That time was headed by Minister Ibrahim Patel. It's what they call the Black Industrialist program, whereby they're trying to encourage and support black industrialists for the inclusive economy.
Yeah.
So that's when I went there, because they invited different sectors of economy, and steel industry was one of them. So I went there with my client and other contractors at Unica Iron and Steel. We had that opportunity to spend a moment with the president, just like any other industry. And for that few minutes, I was able to say to him, thank you very much to South African government with all the efforts that you guys are trying, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Legislation. But now, if the president comes here, I'm sorry for such a long drive. If the president comes here, I think all of them are equally important to raise to him.
Yeah.
But I was very happy when he came in as the president on his first address, when he was saying, when he gave the Tumamina speech, and then he was saying he's going to create a conducive environment for small businesses actually to thrive. And then the first thing I will be saying, can we quickly look at the labor costs? Can we quickly look at the labor law reforms?
So we are going with number 3.
Yes.
The labor law reforms.
Reforms, because it's quite, let me give you an example. In terms of Basic Conditions of Employment Act, what happens, when it comes to the sick leave, I will just give you a practical example. You know, your employee does not owe you any medical certificate if your employee sits home for 2 days, as long as it's not more than 2 days. Because now the law says if it's more than 2 days consecutive, more than 2 consecutive days, then that's when you can bring the sick note. But if it's less than 2 consecutive days, if it's exactly 2 days or 1, you can sit home and say, I'm not feeling well. But now that small business where you are working, they must just find a way to pay you. But now it's, we can't compress everything in this episode. Let's continue on Thursday.
Let's continue on Thursday. And I believe na people are tsama di petle re na le bo gogo mama ngore yang go yena go avansi marifi go thomo tlaka
Oh ya go teng.
Yeah, mekhumalo tlo spade nyana ka pela nyana o le. Ladies and gentlemen, 17 minutes after the hour 8 o'clock, take a quick ad break. When we come back from that, we bring in Makopo Muthala. We're speaking, celebrating the Youth Month, how to then build a good credit profile well as a young person. Makopo, thank you so much for making time to speak with me this evening. I know you had a long day.
Yes.
A long drive.
Yeah.
And you're still continuing with that. Let's
this
finish
is
off.
The most difficult time of my life ever.
Yeah, no.
But I'm just pulling through.
Yeah, we'll continue this conversation on Thursday. Have yourself a lovely evening.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.